Hi, my name is Pam. I work for Missouri Star Quilt Company. I worked for the company in customer service for just over 2.5 years. So a couple of things about me. I have 15 grandchildren. I like to knit, quilt, and one other thing you probably don't know about me is I like Korean dramas. So my quilting journey started in 1990, right before I had my first son. A gal from church decided that she was going to teach us how to quilt. So she said, go and pick these fabrics and come and I'll show you how to make a quilt. So she did, and I made a log cabin quilt for my son, and then I made a full-size quilt for my daughter and log cabin, and she had it on her bed until she was in high school. So here's my quilt. It's made with a lot of love, and as you can see, it's well worn and well used, and it has slick paints and markers and fingernail polish because it was her bedspread. Last year, I redid the binding for the quilt and gave it to my daughter as a gift so she could have it for her daughter she had just had. And it took me 1 year to hand quilt this quilt down in my mother-in-law's basement. So after that, I never quilted again. And I was busy, I had another child and I worked full time, so I didn't start quilting really until 2016 when my girlfriend talked me into going to a sampler block of the month class. And even though I had made a quilt before, I really didn't know how to quilt. I went to the class and they showed us how to do it, and I was scared to death because I didn't know how to make a half square triangle. And so, and I was afraid to cut into the fabric. And so what I decided to do was I was going to take my stash and practice on my stash and cut up and make a block. So this is actually my stash quilt that I made, my very first quilt. And I didn't know how, like I said, I didn't know how to make a half square triangle, so I went onto YouTube and found Jenny and learned how to make a half square triangle and fell in love with Jenny and just kept watching her tutorials. Then I found out about Missouri Star, and the other thing, when I started quilting, I did not like to pick fabric. When I first made this quilt, I had to pick like 14 fabrics, and that was just overwhelming for me. Then I found out about pre-cuts and layer cakes and charm packs, and I fell in love because all the colors were in one pack. And I didn't have to go searching for all the colors, and they already had coordinating colors already put together. So I was super excited about that. So I've continued making sampler quilts, and I probably made over 30 quilts since I started quilting in 2000, well, including these two quilts, but in 2016. So I've made sampler quilts, and I also fell in love with the Brightly quilt that Jenny did in 2021, and that's right after I started working for Missouri Star. And I fell in love, and I bought the fabrics, and those were my carrots. I had to finish all of my UFOs before I could make these two quilts. So I actually made both of these quilts together at the same time. I just chain piece all two quilts together at the same time and was able to get two quilts done in about 2 weeks. So that worked out really good. And these are just a couple of my other quilts. The other thing that I love to do is to knit. And so I actually started knitting before I started quilting. And I started making baby blankets, and now since I have 15 grandkids, I've been busy making baby blankets. But I use the same pattern because I know it and it goes really fast. I also took a break and learned how to make socks, and I thought those were really fun. But then really, my love is just quilting. And I love quilting because I love the feeling of creating, and then when I'm done putting all these little pieces together and then sewing my top together and opening it up, it's like, oh my gosh, I made that. That is like so fun and so exciting. So I love to talk to the customers on customers when they call in for customer service, because I get to talk to them about quilting. And when they have questions, I love answering their questions and answering, how do I fix this? Or how do I make this quilt? Or what would be a great quilt pattern? Or can you help me pick out some colors? And to me, that is really fun, and that's probably the best part about working with Missouri Star in customer service. So this is what I enjoy. Let us know what you enjoy and what you're making by using the hashtag MSQC Show and Tell.